So I recently got a comment that pretty much asked me to make a useful video with metatables instead of a metatable explanation video. So I am going to actually make a player data class using metatables that pretty much saves and stores data whenever players join, and it's very useful for many types of games. So first you need to have a module script and a server script, both on server side. And, you know, obviously you have to have the table. So I'm going to call this player class inside the module. I'm going to return that. I didn't. Yep. So I'm going to return this. Congrats, we have a module. So first we need to make sure we're actually indexing that metatable whenever we call functions inside of it. So then after we index, we can actually set it up. So we're going to do player class set new. So every time we call this function, it'll create a new class object, or it'll create a new object per se, to store data in. So then we're going to return set metatable, which is essentially how we make a metatable. Watch my metatable video if you don't understand what I'm doing. So we're going to return set metatable, and we're going to do player. We're going to set this equal to player because we're going to pass player argument over. And then we're going to do data equals, and then we're going to make a little function up here to actually retrieve their data. Now with this argument, the parameters that this function is going to take is going to be the player. Then we're going to have a little data table, right? Because we have to have data. Now some people may save instance values. However, I don't recommend that as it gets clunky after a while. And array-based storage dictionary-based storage is very quick and efficient to easily change values later on, and it's very user-friendly as it does not cause issues like some issues like that string and number values do. So we're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to get the data store service. And then we're going to get this a store. Get data store. We're going to get this data store. So now, now we have a nice little store with our data that we're saving, that was saved or we're saving to and retrieving from. So now we can just go ahead and do retrieve that data if they have any saved data. So we're going to go data table equals store. I'm going to do data table player user ID, then data table. All right, so now we retrieved it. So now we can check if data table exists. Then we're going to go ahead and return it. Otherwise, we're going to return a new table with this stat. So now we're going to go ahead and call the data function and do player as the parameter. And then we do player class. And now we have our, it sets it up once the player joins. Now if we join the game, after we initialize it, we have to require it. Server storage, player class, game.players, connect function. So we'll get the player, and then we'll do player data class dot new, like we mentioned, and we'll pass the player argument. So local data equals this. We're going to print data dot so like we mentioned, data, the name, we have to actually index the dictionary in the metatable, the data. So we have to do data dot data, or I could just call this player data like that to make it less confusing. Now if we run the game, we have 500 money. So it works. Now we just need to save and actually load data. So to do that, we have to add two functions. We already have the load data function, so now we just have to have the save data function. So player class, and then we're gonna use a colon instead of a period because we are indexing the object. So we'll call this function save data, and then we'll check if self. So if self.data, then if we can actually save information, we're going to go store set update async. We're going to do self.player because we set up player right here, user ID to get their user ID. Then we're going to do function. We're going to return the actual new data, so self.data, and then we're going to print saved. Right. So now we should be able to save data. We should start the game. I had not connected it yet. So game.players, player removing, connect function. So this is when the player leaves. Now if we notice we can't actually get player data from here, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a shared global table, and I'm going to call this shared global table player list. It's going to be just a basic dictionary. So then instead of doing this, I'm going to let's do this. So shared.player list player equals that. So this whenever the player leaves, so now we can just go this, save data, and then we should be good. Now if we leave, ship data has saved. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is change this to 100 and print my data. And you notice I have 500 money instead of the default 100. So it saved the money I had. However, if we change the store, we'll notice I will have 100 instead of 500 because I don't have any information or data saved. So now, yeah, so that saved the data. Now, what if I wanted to, well, you may be asking, yeah, that's cool and all. Well, what if I want to actually do more things with this, like actually add currency and stuff? Well, you can simply add new functions by adding the table name. So in this case, it's player class, and then whatever function name, I'm going to call this add money. So then we can do, if self.data.money, then we can actually pass in a parameter here. We're going to call this amount. So we have to actually do a little test here. If not amount, then we're going to return. So if there's no amount given in the parameter, then we can't do anything, so it'll error otherwise, so we just return. Otherwise, we're going to go ahead and do self.data.money plus equals amount, so we're adding to that amount. Now, if you want to have a function called remove money, you can do that. And then yet again, we have the amount. You can copy this like that. Just remove that and just do minus equals. So now if we call the function, we can actually wait a minute and do that, right? Like same concept here with the semicolon. We go wait, and then we're going to do add money, right? That's what I called it. I'm going to add 1,000, 10,000, and then we wait a minute. Yeah, it's cool and all. All right, we're good. Now if we print, we have 10,500. We run the game again. We have five. It didn't save. Roblox Studio would be like that. So you get the point. Now I will be, if you have any questions, feel free to message me on Discord or just leave a message on the YouTube video. Also, I will link this place in the description so you can actually get the objects. They will all be in lighting. If you look at what I'm doing, they will all be located here. I also have a money kill that somebody asked me to do, but I didn't make a video on that because it wasn't really important at the time. So, see ya.